Hello and welcome back to the Spiritual Growth Forum. I am super excited today to be introducing Ann, and you guys know I've been talking up this one a while. I am very, very excited to learn about seasonal living and haiku and how those two things combine together. Ann is a creative entrepreneur, designer, writer, and haiku poet who's based on Vancouver Island, BC, Canada, where my parents are. So hi, neighbor, sort of, kind of. Her first experience with haiku came from her grandmother, opening a door that would lead her on a remarkable journey for the rest of her life. Her interest in seasonal living grew from learning about Japanese haiku. And I get that, right? The philosophy of haiku is based on connecting with nature, simplicity, everyday moments, and the yearly seasonal cycles. She's found her purpose and passion in showing others how to embrace a seasonal living lifestyle to unlock their spirituality and learn how to be in the moment. And welcome. I'm so glad that you're here, Ann.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Can you hear me? You can hear me. We're good? I just, first of all, I just wanted to thank you so much for putting this wonderful summit together. And I just want to say one little thing. I have some technical little challenges that we ran into. I normally have a whole beautiful slide presentation. I'm a graphic designer, so that's not happening. So I'm going to be weaving my way through this presentation without the dependency on my graphics. So just please bear with me, but it's all going to be perfect. So hello and welcome to the joy of summer. And this is the seasonal living presentation. I will be talking about seasonal living, but their focus is going to be on the summer season because summer is coming up. It's just next week. We've got the solstice coming up. So there's a lot of wonderful things that we can look forward to going into this new abundant season. So by the end of this presentation, you will be ready to burst into summer with a new awareness that can take you into living with more harmony within nature and the high energy of what summer represents. So I invite you to just take a couple of nice deep breaths for just a moment, and let's just get settled and grounded. I always like to start my workshops off, or presentations off, with a quote. So this is a quote that is written by Ralph Waldo Emerson. To the attentive eye, each moment of the year has its own beauty, and in the same field it beholds every hour a picture which was never seen before and which shall never be seen again. And what I really love about this quote is that it's very typical of us getting into these habits of not paying attention to nature or to the environment that we are living in on a daily basis. You can drive down the same road every single day and not notice anything that's different. And these are the things about living within the seasons, is that it's different every day, but you might not even pay attention to that. So these are just these little things to start thinking about. So again, I don't have my visuals with me. Next, I would have a slide. And I would say, when you think about summer, what are some of the words that would come to mind around the summer season? And I have this whole visual of about 75 different summer words. So I'm just going to read some of these words out to you. I've got sun, obviously, swimming, ice cream, barbecues, river frogs, flip-flops, sunglasses, moonflower, summer moon, fireworks, mandarin orange blossoms, gardens, streams, popsicles, watermelons. It goes on and on and on. But what makes this list a little bit more unique is that I have incorporated what is called Kigo words. And Kigo words are seasonal words that are connected to haiku poetry, which I will be sharing with you a little bit more as we go through the presentation. And you've already learned a little bit about me, so I'm actually just going to keep going. And I am a graphic designer. I have been writing the haiku poetry. Actually, what I will share with you is that I did learn about haiku poetry when I was 10 years old, and I think that was when a lot of people had that English language elementary school assignment to learn how to write haiku poetry. And that was my first introduction to haiku. And I was going with what a lot of people learned in those times, and even today, a lot of people learned that it's based on a format of a 5, a 7, 5 syllable count, and it's three short lines. And it is somewhat about that, but there's a lot more to it that I will be diving into as we go through this presentation. So first of all, what is seasonal living? When you think about seasonal living, a lot of people think that it's around decor or different things like that. But the concept, this is my perception, this is how I view seasonal living. It is rooted in the idea of living more in sync with nature and recognize the impact of seasonal changes on our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It can promote a more balanced and sustainable lifestyle while fostering a deeper appreciation for the natural world and its rhythms. And it offers just a way of being more connected to nature. And I believe that we really are craving, a lot of us are craving that, coming home to nature and being more at peace. And there's so many lessons that we can actually learn from nature. And I think it's just an amazing way to be more connected to the natural world. And seasonal cycles are also a big part of what we go through. And the 4 seasons, which is what my workshop is about, is the basic ones, which are spring, summer, fall, and winter. But there's also other seasons. There's astrology seasons. There's like Aries season, Virgo season. Right now, I believe we are in Gemini season. And then when you turn to food, you can tap into like mango season, maple syrup season, summer is watermelon season. So it's also connected to a lot of foods as well as the weather. There's monsoon season, dry season, wet season. So I think you get to start to get the picture. And there's many different seasons that we go throughout our lives, definitely. So I'm going to be, again, talking about the summer season. So we're moving towards the heart of summer. And summer bursts with a radiant warmth and abundance that kicks off the season at the onset of the summer solstice on June 20th, which is, again, next week. It's in a week almost, in the Northern Hemisphere. And this is marked by the longest day and the shortest night of the year. This special time holds a distinct turning point in many different cultures and traditions. It's as if time stands still for just a moment as the sun reaches its peak and then begins to slowly wax towards the shorter days of fall. We're not even going to talk about fall because that's not for a long time. And summer is a season of a boundless energy when the sun stretches into the night and ignites your spirit with a youthful glow. Gone are the remnants of spring, replaced by a landscape overflowing with life. Meadows and forests burst with lush greenery, and the air hums to the buzz of bumblebees and honey. Summer is an invitation to embark on new adventures. Be creative and productive. Have fun. Be more social and make things happen. Summer really is the season of play. It's fun. It's the season of joy. And it is a time of expansion and growth where possibilities can be found, just like little yellow dandelions in the thick of a meadow. Each day holds the promise of discovery and expansion, encouraging you to seize the moment and find pure joy in the beauty of the world around you. This joyful season is filled with abundance, creativity, fun, and fertility. It's actually a great season to be making babies, or at least trying to make babies. And it's a time for being social. When our energy is higher, we need less sleep, and the gifts of nature make it the most lively season to be outdoors. It's also a time of being productive when being busy is actually a good thing. It's a season of heightened senses, the floral scent of wildflowers, the feeling of sand between your toes, or the taste of a ripe fruit can fill your heart with happiness. So find joys in the simple gifts that summer offers. It's a time to bask in the warmth of the sun, to revel in the beauty of the natural world, and to be present to the possibilities that lie within you. Look for the fullness of the full moon as a symbol of summer and fruition. Embrace summer and let it inspire you to stand tall in the ripeness of your being. And this is something that I wrote. I send out newsletters, and I have a circle that I'm going to be sharing with you at the end of the presentation. And I wrote this just about summer, getting ready for summer. So as well as the seasons that we go through with the seasons of nature, we also go through the seasons of life. So again, it would be really great if I could show you my presentation, my visuals, but this is a little bit challenging for me to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to start. It's a lot easier if you can see it. Anyways, I'm going to start. The spring season is connected to youth, from youth up to mid-20s, and it's connected to the goddess and the maiden. So that is the spring season of our life. And then we move into the summer season, which is about the mother healer stage, which is from late 20s into your 40s. And that is the time when we're really productive. That's when not most, but a lot of women are having babies or having families, and it's very productive time. So that is the summer. And then we move into the fall season of life, which is the wild woman and the priestess and enchantress, which is from around 40s to 60s. And then we move into the winter season, which is that time of slowing down. And that is the wise woman. And I don't like this word, it's the crone, but it's also the visionary. And that's anywhere from your 50s into your mid 80s and onward. So those are the cycles of the phases of the cycles that we go through throughout our lives. And then we also have, as I mentioned briefly, is the seasons are connected to those phases, but they're also connected to the phases of the moon. And the moon's each week the moon phase is different, and it's connected to each of the seasons. So right now I believe we're going into a full moon next week, next Friday, actually the day after the solstice, there is a full moon. So right now we are in the waxing moon, and the waxing moon is when it starts to rise. So it is connected to the spring season, which is fitting because the spring season is that rebirth. The spring is about the morning time and that youthfulness, and the waxing moon is about that morning time rising. And then we move into the summer season, which represents the full moon. And that is, again, that time of fertility. And this is also very connected to our cycles, female cycles of menstruation and ovulation. So summer actually would be that time of ovulation. And then we go into the fall season, which is connected to the waning moon, and that is maturity, harvest, and it's also into the early evening, into the night. And then when we go into the winter season, that is about the new moon, and the new moon is that time, that phase where it's going into stillness. It's rest, it's restoration. And in the winter, that is the time when we should be going into the almost a hibernation, not quite being a bear, but it's a rest and reflection time. And the fall is that time of slowing down. So we go through this whole cycle within a year, but we also go through this cycle within the month. So we can go through the 4 seasons within a whole month. And then if we want to break it down even more, you can go through the 4 seasons within a 24-hour period. And then you can also go through the 4 seasons in the breath. And when it's connected to the breath, the inhale is the spring, and then you would pause at the top, and that would be the summer. And then the exhale is the fall. That is the season of release and letting go. And then at the bottom, you would pause again into the winter season. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the full moon energy. So the full moon reaches its highest point, casting a glow upon the world below. This lunar phase within the month marks a time of accumulation and abundance, where the energies of nature are at their peak. The full moon, with its exalted presence, serves as a guiding light in the warm, balmy nights, illuminating the sky and stirring the soul. As the full moon rises, it symbolizes completion and fruition. Just as the summer sun reaches its highest point in the sky, the full moon does too, with a brilliance that knows no bounds. It is a time to celebrate the abundance of life and to savor in the pleasures nature provides. Let the magic of the full moon fill you with a sense of wonder and awe. Allow its radiant energy to awaken your senses and inspire you to embrace the fullness of life. Like the waves that go in and out across the shore, give yourself permission to be carried away by the moment. Under the spell of the full moon, you are reminded of the cyclical nature of existence. Just as the moon waxes and wanes in the night sky, so do you, ebb and flow with the rhythms of the universe. It is a time to honor the cycles of nature and learn from the wisdom of the seasons. As you bask in the glow of the full moon, find peace in its timeless beauty and power. This lunar phase is when we are reminded of how the seasons are on an ever-changing cycle and the interconnectedness of all things. So I have just a couple of questions to put out to you. How does your life change as the seasons change? Or do you ever even think about it? And another question, these are just little things to ponder, to think about. What do you find yourself embracing and what do you resist when the seasons change? I know for myself, I'm not a huge fan of winter. I find it to be a very challenging season, and it's one of the seasons that I definitely resist. And the third question is it different for each season? So I'm also going to be sharing with you about the equinoxes and the solstices, which happen 4 times a year. And they are the bridge to each seasonal shift and change. So again, I would have a nice little graphic to show you. But as I mentioned, the summer solstice is coming up next Thursday, June 20th. So we are going to be shifting from spring to summer, and that is when there is the most light in the day. We have the longest day and the shortest night. And then after that, the days actually start to get a little bit shorter. So it's a little bit sad, but wish it was the other way around, but that's just the way it goes. And then we move into the fall equinox, which is usually around September 21st to the 23rd. And during that time is when it's equal. So there is an equal amount of time between the daylight and the nighttime. And then we move closer to the winter solstice, which is around December 21st, 23rd. And that is when we have the shortest day and the longest night. And then after that, the days actually start to get lighter. And then we move shifting into the spring equinox, which is around March 21st or the 23rd. And again, that's when it's equal. So that's why it's called the equinox. And that was when it is the equal time of daylight and nighttime. So now we're going to dive into the haiku part of the presentation. So I'm going to share with you about Japan and the connection that Japan has with the seasons. And the 4 seasons are a big part of the history in Japan. It goes way back. It goes way back to like the 7th century, 8th century. That's how far back in history it goes. And I've got the words that are connected to the 4 seasons. So the Japanese word for spring is haru, and the Japanese word for summer is natsu, and the Japanese word for fall is aki, and the Japanese word for winter is fuji. So when it comes to haiku and seasonal poetry, haiku actually it came from different forms of poetry back in the history. So to share with you that the first forms of poetry in Japan was called a weika, which started around the 7th century. And weika means short poem. And it consists actually of 5 lines. And it has a 5-7-5, which is what haiku is, but it also has a 7-7 on sound count. So this is where it gets a little tricky, because in Japan, they actually don't have syllables in their language. They count sounds. So when haiku came to North America and it came into the school system, it got a little lost in translation, and they decided to just count the syllables. But when it's in English, it actually makes the haiku longer, and it kind of I don't want to say defeats the purpose of it, but haiku is actually the shorter, as less is more, as the philosophy, as the approach. So you almost don't want to count the syllables. I was learning about haiku. I started writing haiku about almost 20 years ago, and I was going on with this 5-7-5 syllable count. And then I joined the Vancouver Haiku group. I was living in Vancouver at the time. And that was when I learned so much about what haiku is. And that was when I learned that they were like, don't count syllables. And I was very confused. I was like, really? Then what's the purpose of it? Why, what is it all about? Because it's so focused that it's about this format of fitting it into this syllable count. And they're like, forget about it. Don't even think about the syllables. So I'm going to get into more about the essence of haiku, but I'll go back into the history a little bit more. So we start off with a wake-up poem, which was a 5-line poem. Then that was from the 7th century up until around the 13th century. Then at the end of the 13th century, they started doing what is called a renga. And a renga is a collective approach to poetry, which has alternating stanza, which is a verse is included. And this was more of a collaborative approach to writing poetry. And a group of poets would gather together and they would actually write longer poems. It's almost like a conversation that they would have. One person would write some lines and then the next person would carry on with the poem, and then they would go back and forth. And then that was up until the late 15th century, and then around 1600 is when haiku was originated. And it came from the opening part of the Ranga poem, which was the 3 lines. And then over time, it became written as a standalone poem that has the 3 lines with the 5/7 on count. It's just ON. That's what it's called in Japan. And I hope that wasn't confusing. It's a little hard to understand. So I'll get into what haiku really is. And haiku, the essence of haiku is actually about being in the moment. And at the heart of haiku, it is written in the present tense. So that is the biggest part of it. It is also about the senses. It will be, I'm going to read some haiku so it will make sense to you as I go. So the senses would be the sound of water trickling down a stream, or the taste of a watermelon, or a feather on your hand. You know, it's sensual and it taps into your senses, because when you're connected to your senses and you hear those things, that is actually what puts you into the moment. And it's also a deep connection to nature. The Japanese culture is got such a profound appreciation and connection to nature, as well as the seasons. And this is a big part of why I love the haiku, is because it's really about these things that are so simple in life that we often just miss or we're not aware of, and things like that. So by opening our hearts to the natural rhythm of the world around us, we connect more deeply to nature and the seasons. And again, what I love about the seasons and haiku is how they represent the ever-changing cycles that remind us to be in the moment, where the past and the future begins to melt away. With each seasonal shift, you have the opportunity to tap into your own inner rhythm and connect within through the magic of nature. So haiku is also about being the observer. It's about noticing, it's about watching, it's about paying attention. And at the beginning, I talked about these Kigo words. So I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what that means. Actually, I'm going to back up a second. I'm going to read a quote to you. So this quote is written by a British haiku poet. His name is Dr. H.R. Blythe, and he wrote this quote over 100 years ago. So he is a translator, he's a historian on Japan, Japanese literature, and Zen philosophies. So he says, a haiku is the expression of a temporary enlightenment in which we see into the life of things. So it's like taking a photograph. It would be like, taking a photograph of a moment and actually putting it into those short 3 lines that has a little bit of an impact. And I'm actually going to read you some haiku right now, so this will start to make more sense. And I've got the 4 seasons. I've got spring, summer, fall, and winter. And these haiku are written by Basho, who is the master haiku poet from Japan from the 16th century. And so these haiku were written centuries ago. So I'm going to start with the spring haiku, and I invite you to close your eyes. And I'm going to read the haiku twice. And the purpose of doing this is that it actually will take you inward, so you actually will feel it. Haiku is also it's about feeling. It's getting into our feelings. It helps us get us out of our thinking head and into our feeling heart. So I'm going to start with spring. As the bell's notes fade, the scent of cherry lingers, evening twilight. As the bell's notes fade, the scent of cherry lingers, evening twilight. And then summer, following the sun, the hollyhocks turn in summer rainfall. Following the sun, the hollyhocks turn in summer rainfall. And then we've got fall. On a withered branch, a crow has settled, nightfall in autumn. On a withered branch, a crow has settled, nightfall in autumn. And winter, drooping in this upside down world, a bamboo in the snow. Drooping in this upside down world, a bamboo in the snow. And I really love that one because it's very fitting for the state of the world that we are in right now. And what I find is so beautiful about haiku is that these could have been written today. And that's what makes haiku very timeless. So I just want to be aware of my time here. I'm going to share with you a little bit about the Kigo words, and then I'm actually going to be doing a haiku meditation. So I don't want to run out of time, and the haiku meditation is about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to move forward with the spring Kigo words. And spring is a season of awakening. So a couple of the Kigo words are tea picking, plum blossom, mustard flowers, waters of spring. So it's just a little sampling. And there's over, I think, 5,000 Kigo seasonal words that exist in various different libraries and books. And the Japanese seasons have had poetry books written way before haiku even came into the picture. So the connection to the seasons it runs very deep. And they also look at nature as the spirits. They look at, we're talking about a spiritual summit here, and you might be going, what's this got to do with any spirituality? But nature actually, I believe, is spirituality. It rises your vibration. It's so healing, and it's so profound to be connected to nature. So again, the summer season, some Kigo words, I listed a bunch at the beginning. A couple more are midsummer darkness, river frog, fireflies, evening lull. And then I'm going to go into the fall season. The fall season is the season of change. And then we've got autumn deepens, harvest moon. The harvest moon is a very strong representation of the fall season in Japan. We've got willow leaves fall, rice sparrows, and pine cricket. And then the winter season is a season of stillness. Withering wind, tea flowers, first snow, winter greens, mandarin ducks. These are some of the seasonal Kigo words for winter. So now I am going to go into the summer. This is a summer haiku meditation. This is a meditation that I have created and written, and I have haiku throughout it, which is my haiku. So again, I invite you to take a nice deep breath and close your eyes. Summer holds the energy of the full moon, representing abundance and fertility. It's when our energy is at its highest and is connected to productivity, daylight, and youthfulness. This meditation will take you into the summer season and connect you to its energy and the magic of nature through your senses. This will help ground you, quiet your mind, recharge your energy, and calm your emotions. The meditation has haiku woven throughout it, and I will read the haiku twice. I normally ring a little bell, but I don't think that's going to work. I will pause. I will pause for a moment, and then you will know that I'm going to read the haiku. So we'll begin by starting in your body. So get more comfortable in your chair. Close your eyes and place your feet on the floor, your hands on your thighs, and sit upright in a comfortable and mindful way. Take a long, deeper breath in through your nose and pause at the top and exhale out through your mouth fully and completely. Pay attention to your physical sensations and notice how your whole body feels in this moment. Focus on your physical sense of being and notice the top of your in-breath as the pause of summer fullness. Connect to the natural ebb and flow as you breathe. Feel into the summer season bursting with life and the expansion that each breath carries with it. Notice what you hear, smell, touch, what you see in your mind's eye, and the taste in your mouth. Not thinking, just noticing all of your senses. Breathe slowly and easily in and out, and notice what happens when you imagine yourself hiking up a majestic mountain that is buzzing with life. You reach the top, the peak of the mountain, and you can see for miles and miles beyond anything you've ever experienced. You stretch your arms to the midday sun and breathe in the essence of summer. The warmth of the sun on your face gives you an abundant energy, making you feel as if you can achieve anything your heart desires. The sound of the birds singing in the distance invites you to follow them into a summer meadow filled with wildflowers swaying in the wind. A warm breeze flows through your bones, inviting you into the unknown. Mountain air, her warm smile faces the midday sun. Mountain air, her warm smile faces the midday sun. The midday heat rises with the day as you take off your shoes and feel the coolness of the mountain grass between your toes. You feel grounded and centered, ready to embrace the gifts that summer is here to give you. You walk slowly through the meadow, taking in the abundance of color that fills you with love and light. You bathe in the summer heat, igniting you to take a deep leap of faith while you take in all of what you see, hear, touch, and feel. Following your senses, you make your way back down the mountain, smelling the ocean air and hearing the waves crash against the shore. Coconut oil, a twisting path follows them to the sea. Coconut oil, a twisting path follows them to the sea. The ocean is calling you to expand your horizons, to touch the sand, to taste the salt on your lips, to slow down and feel into the simple joy that lives in your heart. Walking along the shore, you explore the beach. Sunglass glitters under the sun and seashells are scattered everywhere. You see a seashell snuggled in the sand. You pick it up and bring it to your ear and listen to the echo of the ocean as if it's on the other side of the world. This ignites a freedom within, taking you back to your younger self, awakening long forgotten dreams. As the tide ebbs and flows, the day begins to sink into the horizon. The warm light in the sky is filled with violet pinks, shimmering golds, deep orange, and peach-colored pastels. Summer moon shells, the echo of my childhood, cupped in my hand. Summer moon shells, the echo of my childhood, cupped in my hand. While the sun disappears, the fullness of the moon rises in the sky. Sea stars sparkle and ripple over the ocean. The full moon of summer is the most magical lunar phases within the month. The moon is rich and abundant. It is a time for completion and to savor in the pleasures of life. Release anything that doesn't serve you. Invite creativity, play, and joy into your life. As the night sky darkens, the radiance of the moon illuminates you. She guides you to shine your light onto the world, to be seen, to be heard, and to be loved. Bathe in this moment of abundance and let the moon love every single part of you, including the sweet, the sour, and everything in between. Bring the essence of summer into your heart and let it spread throughout your body so you can be fully free to be who you are and who you were meant to be in the world. Ocean wonder, the heart of summer held in a grain of sand. Ocean wonder, the heart of summer held in a grain of sand. As you leave the beach, reflect on how the fullness and burst of summer energy feels in your body. Be present to the thoughts, feelings, and experiences that surfaced within. When you open your heart to the natural rhythm of life, you connect more deeply to nature and the seasons. A hazy setting sun or the melting icicles of a winter reminds you to follow your inner rhythm and connect with nature. The seasons are in a constant state of change, just like life. When you connect with yourself, know that deep down you can remain safe and secure throughout the year, no matter what is going on around you. Feel your feet on the floor, wiggle your fingers and toes, open your eyes to bring yourself back to the room. So I've used up all of my time here. I'm just going to share quickly with you that I do have a little seasonal living circle. I have an offer that is for a 1-week experience to experience the circle, which I'm offering to everybody who is in this summit. And I would be thrilled if you joined it. It includes a 100-page or a little over 100-page journal, a summer journal, as well as a recording of the meditation that I just did, as well as a whole week, so you can get a sense of what the circle is all about. So thank you again for joining me here today, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation and learned a little bit more about haiku. So thank you again.